There's a power within you that has been waiting, hidden, silent, almost forgotten. A power greater than fear, greater than doubt, greater than every obstacle you have ever faced. Napoleon Hill called it the other self, the unstoppable version of you that awakens when you finally decide to live with faith, persistence, and purpose. Most people never awaken this self. They drift through life, controlled by fear, paralyzed by indecision, weakened by excuses. They live small, never touching the greatness they were born with. But those who awaken, those who decide, those who persist, become unstoppable. Hill discovered that success is not luck. It is not privilege. It is not even talent. Success is a law, a formula, a science of the mind. And it begins with desire. Desire is the spark that ignites everything. Without burning desire, you will never persist. Without desire that consumes you, your faith will falter, your purpose will fade. But with desire, you gain a fire that no storm can extinguish. Desire, however, must be fueled by faith. Faith is the ability to see what does not yet exist, to believe in the unseen, to persist when reality offers no evidence. Faith whispers, "It is already yours. Keep going." Without faith, desire collapses into frustration. With faith, desire becomes destiny. And faith must be impressed upon the subconscious mind. Hill explained that your subconscious is the silent engine of your destiny. It accepts everything you give it, whether fear or faith, doubt or persistence, and multiplies it. The subconscious does not argue. It obeys. That is why autosuggestion is so powerful. Every word you speak, every affirmation you repeat, every vision you imagine is planting seeds in your subconscious. And in time, those seeds grow into reality. Most people never take control of this process. They allow fear, negativity, and the opinions of others to program their subconscious. They feed themselves weakness and then wonder why they live powerless lives. But you can choose differently. You can choose to feed your mind with faith, gratitude, persistence, and purpose until your subconscious accepts it. And once it does, your life begins to align with it. But here lies the secret. None of this matters without persistence. Persistence is the bridge between desire and achievement, between faith and fulfillment, between purpose and power. Most people quit too soon. They mistake temporary defeat for permanent failure. They stop inches from gold. But those who persist, those who refuse to quit, those who rise again and again, always win. Not immediately, not easily, but inevitably. And persistence must be anchored in purpose. Purpose is what makes you unshakable. When your why is strong enough, no obstacle can stop you. Purpose transforms pain into preparation, delay into discipline, sacrifice into strength. Purpose is the reason persistence endures. This is the law of success. Desire, faith, autosuggestion, persistence, purpose. Hill proved it over and over. Those who live these laws rise. Those who ignore them drift. And now, the choice is in front of you. Will you drift, or will you decide? Will you surrender, or will you persist? Will you live small, or will you awaken the other self? The unstoppable you that has been waiting all along? Most people never rise because they never decide. They wait for certainty, for guarantees, for the perfect moment. But the perfect moment never comes. Napoleon Hill warned that indecision is the devil's greatest tool. It keeps people trapped in hesitation, paralyzed by fear, drifting aimlessly until their dreams die inside them. Decision is the turning point. It is the moment you draw a line in the sand and say, "This is my life. This is my purpose. This is my destiny. I will not quit until it is real." Decision is power because it tells your subconscious that you are serious. Once you decide, your mind begins working day and night to align your thoughts, emotions, and actions with your vision. But decision must be backed by persistence. Anyone can make a decision in a moment of excitement. But true decision is proven in the days of silence, in the seasons of struggle, in the nights of doubt. When you decide and persist, you create momentum. And momentum is power. Hill discovered that persistence is built on 4 pillars: desire, faith, purpose, and habit. Desire fuels you. Faith sustains you. Purpose anchors you. Habit carries you. Without these 4, persistence collapses. With them, persistence becomes unbreakable. But fear will always test you. Fear of criticism, fear of poverty, fear of failure, fear of rejection. Fear is the shadow that follows every dream. And yet, fear is nothing more than faith twisted in the wrong direction. Fear imagines the worst. Faith imagines the best. Both are unseen. Both are choices. Which one will you choose? The only way to defeat fear is through action. Action breaks fear's grip. Every time you move forward in spite of fear, courage grows. Every time you persist through fear, faith deepens. Courage is not the absence of fear. It is persistence in the presence of fear. And here is the hidden truth. Fear always shows up right before breakthrough. When resistance is at its highest, when the voice of doubt is at its loudest, it means you are close. Most quit in that moment. But those who persist push past fear and enter the realm of transformation. This is why Hill insisted on programming the subconscious with affirmations and visualization. If you leave your mind unguarded, fear will dominate. But if you feed it faith daily, fear loses its power. Your subconscious begins to expect victory, and expectation is a magnet. You start to act with confidence, notice opportunities, attract resources, and persist naturally. Gratitude multiplies this effect. Gratitude tells your subconscious, I already live in abundance. Gratitude shifts your focus from lack to plenty, from fear to faith. And because your subconscious always creates in harmony with your dominant thoughts, gratitude attracts more to be grateful for. But the drifter never understands this. The drifter allows fear to plant seeds in his mind. He hesitates, delays, and quits. He speaks of what he cannot do, what is impossible, what he fears, and his subconscious obeys. He creates a life of mediocrity without realizing he chose it. The creator chooses differently. The creator decides, persists, and feeds his mind with faith. He speaks only of victory, visualizes only abundance, and acts daily toward his purpose. And because he persists, the law of success works for him. So ask yourself right now, am I drifting or deciding? Am I living by fear or by faith? Am I quitting or persisting? The truth is simple. Your destiny is waiting, but it will not wait forever. Every day of drifting is a day stolen from your future. Every hesitation is a step away from greatness. Every excuse is a chain that holds you back. Decide now. Persist daily. Live with faith. And awaken the unstoppable self that Napoleon Hill knew lived within you all along. There will come a moment on your journey when everything inside you whispers, quit. The results seem invisible. The struggle feels endless. The silence of progress tempts you to believe that nothing is happening. This is the test that breaks most people. They give up just before their breakthrough. They walk away 3 feet from gold. But Napoleon Hill discovered the truth. Temporary defeat is not failure. It is feedback. It is preparation. It is the universe asking you to prove your persistence. Every person who has ever achieved greatness has endured defeat. The difference is not whether they failed. The difference is whether they quit. Persistence is the invisible line that separates the drifter from the creator, the dreamer from the achiever. Persistence is ordinary in the moment, but extraordinary in the result. It looks like rising early when no one notices, working late when no one applauds, continuing when no one believes. Persistence is the bridge between desire and achievement, between faith and fulfillment. Think of the river carving the canyon. It is not the force of one wave, but the persistence of thousands over time that reshapes the stone. So it is with your life. Small actions, repeated daily with persistence, carve out destiny. Failure itself is not your enemy. Quitting is. Failure is a teacher, a refiner, a guide. Each failure carries a lesson that success could never give. Each defeat strips away what doesn't work and moves you closer to what does. If you persist, failure becomes fuel. If you quit, failure becomes final. Edison, Lincoln, Ford, none of them avoided failure. Edison failed thousands of times before success. Lincoln lost more elections than he won before the presidency. Ford faced bankruptcy before building an empire. They were not spared struggle. They were forged by it. Their greatness was not talent, but persistence. But how do you persist when the weight feels unbearable? Hill taught that persistence is born from desire and purpose. Weak desires produce weak persistence. But a burning desire, anchored in a clear purpose, creates a persistence that nothing can break. When your why is greater than your pain, you will endure. When your purpose is greater than your fear, you will rise. Faith also strengthens persistence. Faith whispers, keep going. The vision is already yours. Faith keeps your eyes on the unseen when the visible offers no hope. Faith gives courage when fear screams louder. With faith, persistence becomes natural because you no longer wonder if, it is only a matter of when. And here is the paradox. The closer you are to your breakthrough, the louder the resistance becomes. Fear shouts louder. Circumstances grow tougher. Doubt feels heavier. Why? Because resistance peaks just before it breaks. The darkest night always comes before dawn. The fiercest storm always precedes calm. The deepest struggle always signals transformation is near. So when you feel like quitting, remind yourself, you're closer than you think. One more step may carry you into breakthrough. One more act of persistence may open the door. One more moment of faith may unlock destiny. Persistence always wins. Not instantly, not easily, but inevitably. The only way to lose is to quit. So refuse to quit. Refuse to drift. Refuse to surrender. Choose persistence, and your destiny will unfold. The greatest battles you will ever fight are not with the world outside you. They're with the world inside you. Napoleon Hill reminded us again and again, you are the master of your fate, the captain of your soul, because you are the master of your mind. Your mind is the workshop of destiny. Every thought you allow to dominate, it is a blueprint. Your subconscious accepts those blueprints, multiplies them, and begins creating conditions in your life to match them. If you fill your mind with fear, you will attract fear. If you dwell on doubt, you will find obstacles. But if you persist in faith, gratitude, and vision, you will attract opportunities, people, and resources that align with your destiny. This is why Hill insisted on autosuggestion. Autosuggestion is the deliberate feeding of your subconscious with the thoughts, images, and affirmations that serve your purpose. It is not magic. It is law. Your subconscious does not argue. It does not analyze. It simply obeys. And what it obeys most powerfully are thoughts mixed with emotion, repeated with persistence, and anchored in desire. But here is the danger. If you do not guard your mind, the world will plant its own seeds. Media, critics, fear-filled conversations, limiting beliefs from those around you. They all try to sow weeds in your subconscious. If you drift, your mind becomes a dumping ground for other people's fears. If you decide, your mind becomes a garden of faith. This is why Hill called drifting the devil's most powerful weapon in outwitting the devil. Drifting is mental passivity. It is failing to control your thoughts, failing to direct your purpose, failing to persist in faith. Drifters are enslaved by fear, trapped in indecision, and powerless against circumstance. But the Creator, the one who chooses, guards his mind like a treasure. He filters what he allows in. He speaks affirmations of faith daily. He visualizes his dream with passion. He expresses gratitude until it becomes his dominant state. And because his subconscious is filled with faith, purpose, and persistence, his outer world begins to reflect it. Gratitude is one of the strongest tools of transformation. Gratitude shifts focus from lack to abundance, from fear to faith. When you give thanks for what you already have, and even for what you are still waiting for, you affirm abundance to your subconscious. Gratitude is proof of belief, and belief is the key to manifestation. But repetition without emotion is weak. Cold words repeated without passion do little. The subconscious is moved by emotion. That is why desire, faith, and gratitude are so powerful. They mix thought with feeling, and that combination penetrates deeply. If you want your subconscious to believe, you must feel it as though it is already real. And once your subconscious accepts it, persistence becomes natural. You no longer fight to keep going. You flow. Quitting stops being an option. Doubt stops having power. Fear loses its grip. You act in alignment with your destiny because you already believe it belongs to you. This is the real law of attraction. Not passive wishing, not empty affirmations, but alignment. When your thoughts, emotions, beliefs, and actions are aligned with your purpose, attraction becomes inevitable. Life cannot resist a mind made up. But remember this, the law works both ways. Drift in fear, and you will attract defeat. Persist in faith, and you will attract victory. Your subconscious does not care what you feed it. It only multiplies what is planted. So ask yourself, what am I allowing into my mind daily? What thoughts dominate me? What beliefs am I feeding? Because your present life is the harvest of your past thoughts. And your future life will be the harvest of what you are planning today. Guard your mind. Direct your thoughts. Persist in faith. Choose gratitude. Because the one who controls his mind controls his destiny. Every great achiever has walked through the fire of failure. And yet, failure is not what defeats them. It is what forges them. Napoleon Hill discovered that failure is never final unless you accept it as such. It is temporary defeat, a test, a refining fire designed to build persistence. Most people misunderstand failure. They see it as the end. They interpret rejection as proof they are not enough. They let delay convince them that destiny has passed them by. But the truth is this: failure is feedback. Failure is training. Failure is preparation for the success you're destined to hold. Edison failed thousands of times before perfecting the light bulb. Each so-called failure was another step forward. Henry Ford faced bankruptcy before building an empire. Abraham Lincoln lost more elections than he won before becoming one of the most respected leaders in history. What set them apart was not that they avoided failure, but that they persisted through it. Persistence is the difference. Hill compared it to the carbon in steel. Just as carbon strengthens iron until it becomes unbreakable, persistence strengthens character until it becomes indestructible. Without persistence, your dreams collapse under pressure. With persistence, every setback becomes a stepping stone. But persistence does not come automatically. It must be fueled by desire, faith, purpose, and habit. Desire gives you the fire. Faith keeps you believing when results are invisible. Purpose anchors you when the storms rage. Habit carries you daily, turning persistence into a lifestyle instead of a struggle. When these four pillars are present, quitting becomes impossible. You may fall, but you rise again. You may feel fear, but you act anyway. You may face delay, but you refuse to give up. Persistence transforms defeat into determination, mistakes into mastery, rejection into redirection. And here is the paradox. The closer you are to your breakthrough, the more intense the resistance becomes. Fear grows louder. Circumstances grow tougher. Doubt feels heavier. Why? Because resistance always peaks just before it breaks. The darkest night comes before the dawn. The final test comes before the reward. Most people quit in that moment. They stop when they're one step away. But the one who persists, the one who refuses to quit, discovers that breakthrough always belongs to the persistent. Hill reminded us that failure carries within it the seed of an equal or greater benefit. If you persist, you will find it. If you quit, you never will. So when defeat comes, and it will, look at it differently. See it not as the end, but as the classroom. Ask, what is this teaching me? How is this preparing me? Where is this redirecting me? Because failure is not meant to destroy you. It is meant to shape you. And if you persist, if you refuse to quit, every failure will eventually work in your favor. Remember this truth. Quitting is the only true failure. Everything else is progress. So rise again. Act again. Persist again, because the victory you seek is waiting on the other side of persistence. There is a hidden reservoir of strength inside every human being, but it only awakens when you live with purpose. Purpose is the anchor that keeps you steady in storms, the fire that keeps you moving through obstacles, the compass that gives direction when the path is dark. Without purpose, persistence collapses. Without purpose, faith weakens. Without purpose, desire fades. But with purpose, you become unstoppable. Napoleon Hill taught that definiteness of purpose is the first principle of success. He discovered that men and women who knew exactly what they wanted and who refused to stop until it was achieved always rose higher than those who drifted through life without clarity. Purpose is the foundation. Without it, you waste your energy. With it, every thought, every action, every decision builds toward destiny. Most people never discover their purpose because they never decide. They wait for life to reveal it, but life never does. They drift into careers they do not love, relationships they do not nurture, and routines they do not question. They confuse movement with progress, busyness with purpose. And in drifting, they lose their power. But the one who decides, who writes down his purpose, who declares it daily, who persists in it with burning desire, awakens a power that nothing can break. Decision ignites faith. Faith fuels persistence. Persistence creates results. And results strengthen belief until success becomes inevitable. Decision is the switch that activates purpose. Indecision is drifting, and drifting is defeat. Hill warned us that drifters are controlled by fear, by circumstance, by the opinions of others. But the decisive person, the one who chooses a purpose and commits, becomes the master of his mind and the captain of his soul. And decision must be firm. Hill observed that successful people decide quickly and change slowly, while unsuccessful people decide slowly and change quickly. Why? Because a firm decision signals to your subconscious and to infinite intelligence that you are serious. Once you decide, doors open, people appear, opportunities align. But until you decide, life remains stuck in hesitation. Purpose, decision, and persistence together create power. Power is not aggression. It is alignment. It is when your thoughts, emotions, beliefs, and actions all point in the same direction. Most people scatter their power across fear, distraction, and doubt. But when you concentrate it on a clear purpose, you generate unstoppable momentum. And here is the secret. The greatest purposes are not selfish. Selfish goals burn out when obstacles rise. But purposes tied to service, to impact, to legacy, those endure. When your purpose is bigger than yourself, persistence becomes infinite. Because quitting is no longer just betraying yourself. It is betraying those you are meant to help, inspire, or lead. Legacy is born from this. Legacy is not a single achievement. It is the accumulation of daily persistence, fueled by purpose greater than yourself. Legacy is the proof that you lived with meaning, that you gave more than you took, that you left behind a trail of faith and persistence for others to follow. And this is what Napoleon Hill truly wanted for us. Not just wealth, but impact. Not just success, but significance. He wanted us to rise above drifting, to live with definiteness of purpose, to persist until we became living proof of the law of success. So ask yourself, have I defined my purpose? Have I written down? Have I decided firmly? Am I persisting daily toward it? Do not wait for another day, another sign, another chance. Life is now. Purpose is chosen, not discovered. Destiny is built, not handed. Decide today. Live with purpose. Persist with faith. And unleash the power within you. Because once you live with purpose, you cannot be stopped. The law of attraction has been twisted into a shallow promise by many who never understood its depth. People think they can simply sit back, wish for riches, imagine success, and wait for it to fall into their laps. But Napoleon Hill revealed the truth. The law of attraction is not about wishing. It is about becoming. You do not attract what you casually want. You attract what you are. Your dominant thoughts, your persistent emotions, your deepest beliefs, and your daily actions. All of these form your vibration, the energy you carry into the world. And the world, by law, responds to that vibration. When your mind is filled with fear, you attract situations that confirm your fear. When you live in doubt, you attract obstacles that justify it. But when your mind is anchored in faith, gratitude, and persistence, you draw to yourself opportunities, resources, and people that align with your vision. Hill reminded us, thoughts are things. They are not empty. They are forces. And when mixed with emotion and sustained by persistence, they become powerful magnets that shape your destiny. But here is the warning. The law is always working. If you persist in fear, fear multiplies. If you persist in doubt, doubt dominates. The law does not decide, it only reflects. The harvest always matches the seed. This is why autosuggestion is critical. By repeating affirmations with emotion, by visualizing your dream with intensity, by speaking gratitude for blessings seen and unseen, you plant seeds of faith in your subconscious. And once the subconscious accepts them, it goes to work day and night, aligning your actions, sharpening your awareness, and drawing into your life the very things you impressed upon it. But Hill made it clear, attraction without action is delusion. Just as a farmer cannot reap without planting, watering, and working, you cannot attract without moving. Thought directs, faith fuels, persistence carries, but action brings the harvest. And gratitude accelerates the law. Gratitude is faith in motion. Gratitude is the declaration, I already live in abundance. When you give thanks not just for what is, but for what is coming, you signal to your subconscious that the outcome is certain. Gratitude shifts your focus from lack to plenty, and because your mind always creates in alignment with your focus, abundance grows. Emotion is the secret multiplier. Cold, mechanical affirmations do not move the subconscious. But thoughts mixed with burning desire, words spoken with passion, and visions felt with emotion, these pierce deeply. The subconscious cannot resist them. And when your subconscious is convinced, your outer world must eventually conform. But persistence is the final ingredient. The law of attraction is not instant. Just as a seed requires time underground before breaking through the soil, your dream requires persistence through unseen seasons. Delay is not denial. Waiting is not wasted. Every day of faith, gratitude, and action strengthens the roots until the fruit appears. Most people quit in this waiting season. They plant the seed, but abandon it before the harvest. They doubt, they drift, they surrender. But the one who persists, who waters the seed with faith, gratitude, and action daily, will always see the harvest. So the real law of attraction is this. Become the person who already has what you desire. Think as they would think. Act as they would act. Speak as they would speak. Believe as they would believe. When your inner world is aligned with your dream, your outer world cannot resist it. Ask yourself, what am I attracting right now? Are my dominant thoughts filled with fear or faith? Do I persist in gratitude or in complaint? Do I act daily or do I drift passively? The law is impartial. It reflects you. And if you dare to align yourself with faith, gratitude, purpose, and persistence, you will attract abundance, not by chance but by law. Napoleon Hill's name still carries weight nearly a century after Think and Grow Rich was first published. His teachings have guided millions, from entrepreneurs and leaders to ordinary men and women searching for purpose. His words have been quoted by presidents, CEOs, and visionaries. And yet, his life remains surrounded by mystery, debate, and controversy. Did he really meet Andrew Carnegie? Did he truly spend 20 years interviewing the greatest industrialists of his age? Critics argue that parts of his story may have been exaggerated, that some encounters were mythologized. Supporters counter that the validity of his message does not rest on his biography, but on the timeless truth of his principles. And the evidence is undeniable. Millions of lives have been transformed by applying the very laws he taught. Hill himself was no stranger to struggle. He faced financial ruin, setbacks, criticism, and doubt. He did not live a flawless life. He lived a human one, and that humanity may be the secret to his influence. He spoke not as someone untouched by failure, but as someone who fought through it, persisted beyond it, and rose despite it. His own life became a living testimony that persistence, faith, and purpose can overcome imperfection. Perhaps the boldest example of his courage is Outwitting the Devil. Written in 1938 but hidden until 2011, the book was considered too dangerous, too controversial for its time. In it, Hill revealed the devil as the voice of fear, doubt, and drifting, the internal enemy that enslaves most people. He exposed how institutions, habits, and even our own minds conspire to keep us small. His message was so radical that it was locked away for decades. And yet, today it speaks louder than ever, reminding us that the true battle is not outside, it is within. So what, then, is Napoleon Hill's true legacy? It is not the accuracy of every story or the perfection of his life. His legacy is found in the lives changed, in the men and women who stopped drifting and began deciding, in those who fed their subconscious with faith instead of fear, in the persistent souls who refused to quit until their dreams became reality. His legacy is in the law of success itself, the universal, unchanging truth that desire, faith, persistence, purpose, and the disciplined use of the mind can transform any life. But here's the most important part. Hill's story is not about him. It is about you. You are the one with desire inside. You are the one with the power of faith. You are the one whose subconscious is waiting for instructions. You are the one who can persist through defeat. You are the one with purpose written into your soul. The question is not whether the law works. The question is whether you will work it. Your destiny is not in the future. It is here. It is now. It is waiting for you to decide. So what will your story be? Will you drift in fear, surrendering your power? Or will you rise in faith, persist in purpose, and create a legacy that outlives you? Will you let excuses control your destiny? Or will you claim the power that Hill spent his life uncovering? The choice is yours, and the time is now. Backhand index pointing right. And if this message has stirred something inside you, do not let it fade. Act right now. Subscribe to this channel, Napoleon Inspires, and join a community committed to faith, persistence, and purpose. Every week, we share the wisdom of Napoleon Hill, the timeless laws of success, and the inspiration you need to rise above drifting and live your destiny. Do not just listen. Live it. Do not just hope. Decide. Do not just dream. Persist. Hit that subscribe button and let us walk this journey together, because your legacy begins the moment you choose to rise.